He wasn't supposed to be out that late. The city had already swallowed the last streaks of sunset, and the streetlights buzzed awake one by one, casting pale halos over cracked pavement and empty playgrounds. 13-year-old Armin kicked a loose stone ahead of him as he walked, his backpack slung over one shoulder, his skateboard tucked under his arm. He liked the quiet, no shouting, no expectations, no one asking why he always seemed somewhere else even when he was standing right in front of them. The abandoned construction site near the edge of town had become his place. Half-built pillars, rusting rods, and wide concrete slabs made it perfect for skating. No guards came anymore. No workers, just wind, dust, and silence. He dropped his skateboard, stepped on, and pushed off. The wheels rolled smoothly over the flat concrete, the sound echoing softly into the hollow structure. He moved faster, letting the air rush past him, jumping a broken ledge, landing clean. For a moment, everything felt simple. Then he heard it. A sound that didn't belong. Not wind, not metal creaking. Something breathing. Armin slowed, his sneakers scraping the ground as he stepped off the board. He listened carefully. The sound came again, faint, uneven, like someone struggling to pull air into their lungs. "Hello?" He called out, his voice bouncing off the unfinished walls. No answer. He followed the sound, weaving between concrete columns until he reached the far end of the site, where a collapsed section had created a shadowed hollow. The air there felt colder. And then he saw it. At first, his brain refused to understand. It wasn't human. The creature lay half buried under broken slabs, its body thin and elongated, its skin a dull, flickering shade of silver blue. One of its limbs too long, too jointed, was twisted unnaturally. Its chest rose and fell weakly, emitting that strained, fragile breathing sound. Armin froze. Every instinct screamed at him to run. But the creature's eyes opened. They were large, dark, and filled with something unmistakable. Pain. Not threat. Not anger. Pain. Armin swallowed hard. You're alive. The creature didn't speak. Instead, a strange sensation brushed against his mind. Not words exactly, but impressions, fear, urgency, weakness. It was trying to communicate. Armin took a shaky step forward. "I don't know what you are," he whispered, "but you're hurt." The creature's breathing hitched. That was enough. Fear didn't disappear, but something else pushed past it, something stubborn and human. He moved closer. The slab pinning the creature's lower body was heavy, too heavy for him alone. Armin tried anyway, gritting his teeth, pushing with all his strength. It didn't budge. "Wait," he muttered, looking around. He grabbed a rusted metal rod, wedged it under the slab, and used it as a lever. The metal groaned. His arms shook. Come on. With a sudden shift, the slab lifted just enough. The creature let out a faint, almost silent cry. "Move," Armin urged. Slowly, painfully, the alien dragged itself free. The slab dropped. Back with a heavy thud. Armin collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. Okay, we did it." The creature lay still for a moment, then its eyes focused on him again. This time, the feeling in his mind was clearer. Gratitude. But also warning. Armin frowned. "What do you mean?" Images flashed in his mind, too fast, too sharp. Fire in the sky. Massive ships. Cities falling. He gasped and staggered back. What was that?" The creature's body flickered faintly, as if its form wasn't entirely stable. More impressions followed. Hunters. Tracking. Coming. Armin's heart began to race. "Someone's coming for you." The alien's breathing grew more erratic. Yes, the feeling seemed to say. And suddenly, the quiet construction site didn't feel safe anymore. Armin looked around, mind racing. Okay, we can't stay here." He hesitated only a second before making the decision that would change everything. "Can you move?" he asked. The creature tried and failed. "Right?" Armin muttered. "Of course." He took a deep breath. Then, he did the only thing he could. He helped it up. It was lighter than he expected, but awkward, its body shifting strangely under his grip. He slung one of its limbs over his shoulder and grabbed his skateboard with the other hand. "Don't die on me now," he said under his breath. Step by step, he led it out of the construction site and into the dark streets beyond. Behind them, high above the clouds, something shifted in the sky, silent, unseen, and moving closer. Armin didn't know exactly when helping the alien stopped being a choice and became a responsibility. Maybe it was when the creature collapsed again halfway home, and he had to drag it the rest of the way. Maybe it was when he hid it in the small storage shed behind his house, covering it with old blankets and tools so no one would accidentally see. Or maybe it was when, for the first time in his life, he realized something depended entirely on him. The alien didn't speak, not in words, but over the next hours, the connection between them grew stronger. Armin learned its name, not a sound he could pronounce, but something close to Eric's. Eric showed him flashes of its world, a place of towering crystalline structures and endless skies filled with shifting light, a civilization far beyond Earth's understanding. And then, war, not a war of armies, a hunt. Eric's kind weren't conquerors. They were survivors, and something far worse had found them. They're coming here, Armin said quietly, piecing together the fragments. Eric's eyes dimmed slightly. Yes. Armin sat back against the shed wall, his mind spinning. This is insane, he whispered. I'm just me. But deep down, he already knew. He wasn't just anything anymore, because he had made a choice, and choices had consequences. The first sign came the next night. The sky flickered, not lightning, not clouds. Something else. Armin stood outside, staring upward, his stomach twisting. Eric's appeared beside him, weaker but standing. They're here, Armin said. Eric's didn't need to answer. The air itself felt wrong. A low hum vibrated through the ground. Then, far in the distance, something lit up the horizon. Not an explosion, a descent. Armin's chest tightened. What do we do? For the first time, Eric sent something different into his mind. Not fear, a plan. What followed wasn't something Armin could have imagined even days ago. He became a runner, a messenger, a protector. With his skateboard, he moved faster than anyone expected, through alleys, across rooftops, through places no one else could reach in time. Eric's guided him. Together, they avoided the hunters, tall, armored beings that moved like shadows and saw everything. Armin learned to trust instincts he never knew he had. To move without thinking, to act without hesitation, and slowly, the impossible began to take shape. They weren't just surviving, they were fighting back. The final night came without warning. The sky tore open. A massive ship descended, blocking out the stars. The hunters gathered. Eric stood beside Armin, stronger now but not enough. This is it, isn't it? Armin said, a quiet confirmation. Armin looked down at his skateboard. Then back at the sky. All right, he said, a small, determined smile forming. Let's change the ending. What followed would never be recorded in history. A boy racing through a broken city. An alien, standing against impossible odds. A signal sent at the last possible moment. A weakness found, a chance taken, and a victory no one saw coming. When it was over, the sky was quiet again. The ship was gone. The hunters, gone. Erix stood in the fading light of dawn. You're leaving, aren't you? Armin asked, a soft, gentle feeling. Yes, but you'll be okay. A pause. Then warmth. Because of you. Armin nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. Good. Erix stepped back, its form beginning to glow. And then, in a flash of light, it was gone. Years later, people would talk about strange lights in the sky that night, unexplained energy readings. Rumors. But no one knew the truth, except one boy, now older, standing at the same abandoned site, skateboard under his arm. Armin looked up at the sky and smiled, because somewhere out there, two worlds still existed. Because he chose not to walk away. Armin didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, the images returned: burning skies, collapsing structures, shadows moving through light. Not dreams, memories. Eric's memories. The small storage shed behind his house felt too fragile to hold something this important, too dangerous. He sat cross-legged on the floor, watching Eric's. The alien's body pulsed faintly now, its color shifting between dull blue and a brighter, almost luminous shade, healing but slowly. You said they track you, Armin whispered. A faint response brushed his mind. Not me. My signal. Armin frowned. Signal, like a beacon. Yes. His stomach dropped. So even if we hide, they'll still find you. A pause. Then dash certainty. They are already searching. Armin stood up abruptly and began pacing the small shed. Okay. Think, he muttered. If they're tracking you, we either hide the signal or we stop it. Eric's shifted slightly. There's a way. Armin stopped. Tell me. The images came slower this time. Clearer. A device. Small. Embedded within Eric's body. Not just a track or something more complex. A failsafe. A locator tied to something far bigger. Armin's expression tightened. You want me to remove it? Pain flickered through the connection. Yes. He stared at Eric's. I'm not a doctor. Silence. Then a single feeling. Trust. Armin exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. Yeah, no pressure. He grabbed an old toolbox from the corner. Rusty tools, nothing sterile, nothing precise. This is a terrible idea, he muttered. But he knelt anyway. Okay, just tell me what to do. It took nearly an hour. Guided by Eric's mental instructions, Armin worked carefully, hands shaking at first, then slowly steadying. The alien's body reacted strangely, shifting, adapting, almost helping him as he went. At one point, Eric's entire form flickered violently. Armin froze. Hey, stay with me. Pain surged through the connection, nearly knocking him back. Almost there, I think. Yeah, this thing. He saw it. A small, dark shard embedded near Eric's core, pulsing faintly with a cold, artificial light. That's it, right? Yes. Armin swallowed. All right, here goes nothing. He reached in carefully, gripping the shard with trembling fingers. For the record, he muttered, this is the craziest thing I've ever done. Then he pulled. The world seemed to shatter. A burst of energy exploded outward, not physical, but something deeper, something that hit his mind like a shockwave. Armin gasped, falling backward as the shard came free. The shed lights flickered. Outside, somewhere far above, something changed direction. Eric's collapsed. Hey, Armin scrambled forward. Eric's, come on, don't do this now. For a terrifying moment, there was nothing. No movement. No presence in his mind. Then a faint pulse. Weak, but alive. Armin let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Don't scare me like that. Eric's color slowly stabilized. The connection returned, softer now, but clearer. Free. Armin looked at the shard in his hand. It was already dimming, its light fading. So, that's it. They can't track you anymore. A pause. Not directly. Armin frowned. That doesn't sound reassuring. They will search differently now. Great, Armin muttered. So, instead of following a signal, they'll just tear the place apart until they find you. Yes. Armin leaned back against the wall, staring at the ceiling. Perfect. Love that for us. The next day felt wrong. To quiet. To normal. People went about their routines. Cars passed. Shops opened. Kids played in the streets. No one noticed the sky. But Armin did. Every flicker of light, every strange reflection in the clouds, he noticed all of it. And Eric's felt it too. They are closer. Armin tightened his grip on his skateboard. Then we don't wait for them. Eric's shifted slightly. Explained. Armin's single quotes. Eyes hardened. We hit them first. It wasn't a plan yet. Not really. More like an idea fueled by fear and stubbornness. But Armin couldn't just hide and hope. Not anymore. Those things hunters you showed me, he said. They're not invincible. Eric sent a flicker of agreement. They rely on tech, tracking, coordination. Double quotes. Yes. Armin nodded slowly. Then we mess with that. He grabbed a notebook and started sketching rough shapes, what he remembered from Eric's visions. If we can isolate one, study it, figure out how it works. Dangerous. Armin smirked slightly. Yeah, I figured. He looked up. But it's better than waiting to get caught. That night, they went hunting. A boy and an alien moving through shadows. Armin rode ahead on his skateboard, silent and fast, scouting paths. Eric's followed, blending into darkness in ways that didn't seem physically possible. They reached the outskirts of the city. An old industrial zone. Abandoned factories. Broken lights. Perfect. Armin slowed to a stop. You feel anything? A pause. Then dash one. Armin single quotes S. Pulse quickened. Just one, yes, he nodded. Good. The hunter wasn't what Armin expected. It wasn't bulky or monstrous. It was sleek. Tall. Armored in shifting black metal that seemed to absorb light. Its movements were precise, controlled. It didn't walk. It glided. Armin crouched behind a rusted container, heart pounding. Okay, he whispered. Ryx stayed hidden, watching. Wait. The hunter paused suddenly. Its head tilted slightly. Scanning. Armin held his breath. Seconds stretched. Then it moved again. Armin exhaled quietly. That thing is creepy. He muttered. The plan was simple. To simple. Lure it. Separate it. Disable it. Hopefully survive. Armin picked up a small metal piece and tossed it across the yard. Clang. The hunter turned instantly. Then moved. Fast. Ho, Armin whispered. Okay. Noted. He grabbed his skateboard and pushed off. The sound of wheels on concrete echoed. The hunter locked onto him immediately. Target acquired. Yeah, come on. Armin shouted, adrenaline kicking in. He weaved through broken structures, jumping gaps, ducking under hanging beams. Behind him, the hunter followed faster than anything that size should be. Eric's. Now would be a great time. He yelled. Wait. Not too long. At the perfect moment now, Armin veered sharply to the side. The hunter followed and stepped into the trap. Eric's emerged. A pulse of energy slammed into the hunter, distorting its form for a split second. Armin didn't hesitate. He turned, grabbed a heavy metal rod, and swung with everything he had. The strike connected. Sparks flew. The hunter staggered. Did that do anything? Armin shouted. Again. Ryx hit it once more. This time, the armor flickered. Armin saw it. A weak point. Got you. He rushed forward and everything went wrong. The hunter adapted instantly. It caught his movement mid-strike. Its arm shot out, grabbing him. Hard. Armin gasped as he was lifted off the ground. Oh, that's bad. The hunter's faceplate shifted, revealing nothing beneath, just darkness. Analyzing. Double quotes. Yeah. Don't do that, Armin muttered weakly. Its grip tightened. Bones creaked. Pain shot through him. Eric's surged forward too late. The hunter raised its other arm, weapon forming. And for the first time since this began, Armin realized he might not make it. The hunter's grip tightened. Armin's breath hitched as pressure crushed against his ribs, pain shooting through his chest. His skateboard slipped from his hand and clattered uselessly onto the ground below. Okay. Bad situation, he rasped. The hunter tilted its head slightly, its featureless face somehow still managing to feel like it was studying him, calculating, measuring. Then the weapon in its free arm began to form, dark energy folding into shape, humming with quiet, deadly intent. Armin's mind raced. Think. Move. Do something. But his body refused. He couldn't breathe properly. Couldn't move. This was it. A stupid plan. A stupid risk. And it was going to end right here. No. A sudden surge exploded through his mind. Not fear. Not panic. Ryx. A sharp, burning pulse of energy slammed into the hunter from the side. The creature staggered, its grip loosening just enough. Armin dropped. He hit the ground hard, air blasting out of his lungs as he rolled across the rough concrete. Move. Eric's presence screamed inside his mind. Armin didn't hesitate this time. He grabbed his skateboard mid-roll, jumped up, and pushed off with everything he had. Behind him, the hunter recovered almost instantly. Of course it did. Why wouldn't it? Armin muttered breathlessly. A blast of energy scorched the ground where he had been a second ago, sending sparks flying into the air. Yep, definitely angry now. He ducked under a broken beam, swerved around a rusted machine, his wheels barely maintaining grip over cracked surfaces. Eric's plan, he shouted. A flicker of response came through, strained, urgent. Weak point, core instability. But adapting to fast. Translation, we're in trouble. Yes, great. Another blast tore through the air. Closer this time. The shockwave nearly threw him off balance. Armin gritted his teeth. Running wouldn't work forever. The thing was faster, smarter. Learning. He needed something else. Something unpredictable. His eyes darted around the industrial yard and then he saw it. An old, partially collapsed crane structure, cables hanging loose, its base surrounded by scattered metal debris, a terrible idea, which, at this point, meant it was probably the best one he had. "Eric's," he said, voice tight, "I'm about to do something very stupid." A brief pause. Understood. Double quotes. Wow, not even gonna argue. No time. Fair enough. He pushed harder, speeding straight toward the crane. Behind him, the hunter followed relentless. Armin reached the base, jumped off his skateboard, and grabbed one of the hanging cables. "Please don't break. Please don't break," he yanked it with all his strength. Nothing. The hunter closed in. Fast. Too fast. "Come on." Eric's appeared beside him, its form flickering with effort. A surge of energy shot into the cable. The mechanism above groaned. Then snapped. The massive crane arm shifted violently. Armin dove to the side. The hunter reacted instantly, trying to move out of the way, but for the first time it wasn't fast enough. The crane arm crashed down with a deafening impact, slamming into the hunter and pinning it beneath twisted metal. The ground shook. Silence followed. Armin lay on the ground, breathing hard, staring at the wreckage. "Did we just win?" he whispered. A pause. Then uncertain. Armin pushed himself up slowly. "Yeah, same feeling." He approached carefully, every instinct screaming at him to keep his distance. The hunter lay partially crushed, its body flickering erratically now. The smooth, shifting armor was breaking apart in places, revealing something underneath, something not mechanical, not entirely alive. "Eric's," Armin said quietly. "I see it." The weak point was exposed now, a pulsing core buried within its chest, unstable, glitching. Armin swallowed. "So that's it, huh? That's how we stop it." Double quotes. "Yes. But it's not dead yet." Double quotes. "No." As if on cue, the hunter moved. Its arm twitched. Then jerked. Then it began to push. The metal holding it down started to bend. Armin's eyes widened. "You've got to be kidding me." "Adapting." "Of course it is." The core pulsed brighter, more violently. Eric's presence sharpened. Now. Armin didn't argue. He grabbed the nearest solid piece of metal, a broken rod, and ran forward. The hunter's arm broke free. Its head snapped toward him. Target reacquired. Yeah, I'm right here," Armin shouted, forcing himself not to hesitate. He jumped over a piece of debris, raised the rod, and drove it straight into the exposed core. For a split second, everything stopped. No sound. No movement. Then the world erupted. A shockwave blasted outward, throwing Armin backward through the air. He hit the ground hard, sliding across concrete as light exploded behind him. The hunter let out a sound, something between a scream and a distortion. Then it collapsed in on itself. The light faded. Silence returned. Armin groaned, rolling onto his back. "Okay, that worked," he muttered weakly. He stared up at the sky, chest rising and falling rapidly. For a moment, everything felt still again. Normal. Then Eric's appeared beside him. Not calm, not relieved, alarmed. "What?" Armin sat up slowly. "What now?" Eric's didn't answer with words. It showed him. Far above the clouds, multiple signals. Dozens. Closing in. Not one hunter, not a few. An entire force. Armin's face went pale. "We just made things worse, didn't we?" A quiet, heavy confirmation. "Yes." Armin let out a shaky breath. Then unexpectedly laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. "Of course we did," he said, pushing himself to his feet. "Why would this be easy?" He looked at Eric's. "So what now?" This time, the response was different. Not fear. Not warning. A decision. "We stop running." Armin raised an eyebrow. "You got a better plan?" A pause, then something bigger. Armin smirked slightly despite everything. "All right," he said. "Now you've got my attention." The sky above them flickered again, but this time it wasn't subtle. It was the beginning of something much, much bigger. And whatever came next wouldn't just decide their fate. It would decide everything. The sky didn't just flicker this time. It broke. Thin cracks of light stretched across the clouds like fractures in glass, spreading wider with every passing second. A low, endless hum filled the air, vibrating through buildings, through the ground, through Armin's chest. People noticed now. Cars slowed. Voices rose. Phones came out. "What is that?" someone shouted in the distance. Armin didn't answer. He already knew. They're not hiding anymore. He said quietly. Eric stood beside him, its form brighter than ever, energy flowing through it in steady pulses. No. Armin swallowed. How many? The answer came like a weight pressing down on his mind. Too many. He let out a slow breath. Yeah, I figured. High above, the cracks widened and then the first ship came through. It wasn't descending. It was arriving. Massive, silent. Wrong. It hung in the sky like it didn't belong to reality itself. Its surface shifting and bending light in unnatural ways. And then more followed. One after another. The city fell into chaos. People ran, screamed, pointed at the sky. Sirens began to wail. Armin didn't move. For the first time since all this began, he felt something heavy settle in his chest. Not fear. Responsibility. They're here because of us, he said. A pause. Then Eric's responded. No. They are here because they would always come. Armin glanced at him. Yeah, but we kind of sped it up. A faint flicker, something almost like agreement. Maybe. Armin let out a short breath, then shook his head. Doesn't matter now. He tightened his grip on his skateboard. So tell me about this something bigger. Eric's didn't explain with words. It showed him. Not just memories this time. A system. A network. Something buried deep beneath the surface of Earth. Ancient. Dormant. Waiting. Armin's single quotes. Eyes widened. Hold on. That's here. Yes. Since when? Before your kind remembered. He blinked. That's not comforting. Eric's continued. Its species. Eric's people have once scattered across galaxies, hiding pieces of their technology in forgotten worlds, seeds, safeguards, last resorts. Earth was one of them. Armin stared at the ground beneath his feet like it might suddenly open. You're telling me there's some kind of alien super weapon under us? Not weapon. He paused. Then choice. Armin frowned. I don't like how vague that sounds. It requires activation. Of course it does. And a link. Armin looked at Eric's, then at himself. You mean me? Double quotes. Yes. He let out a quiet laugh. Perfect. Just what I needed. More responsibility. The first attack came minutes later, from the sky. Small shapes detached from the massive ships, falling fast, slicing through the air like blades. Hundreds, dozens of them. Armin's expression hardened. Guess we're out of time. He stepped onto his skateboard. Where do we go? Eric's turned toward the city's edge. Underground. Of course it's underground. They moved fast, faster than ever before. The city around them was breaking into panic. Sirens screaming, people running, the sky glowing with unnatural light. Armin weaved through it all, his movements sharper now, more precise. He wasn't just riding anymore. He was navigating a battlefield. Behind him, hunters landed silent, deadly, scanning everything. They're spreading out, Armin said, glancing back. Yes. Looking for you. And now, you. He smirked slightly. Yeah, figured I'd make the list. A blast hit the street behind him, sending debris flying. Okay, definitely on the list. They reached the edge of the city where old infrastructure lay, forgotten drainage tunnels, maintenance shafts, places no one paid attention to anymore. Eric stopped near a cracked section of ground. Here. Armin looked down. You've gotta be kidding me. The surface looked solid. Eric's raised its hand. Energy pulsed. The ground shifted just slightly, revealing something beneath. Not natural. Not human-made. A hidden structure. Armin's eyes lit up despite everything. Okay, that's actually kind of cool. Then another blast hit nearby. Less cool. Under fire. Let's go. They dropped inside, just as hunters closed in above. The entrance sealed behind them. Darkness swallowed everything. For a moment, there was only silence. Then light. Soft, blue, alien lights spread across the walls, revealing a long corridor stretching deep underground. Armin looked around slowly. This has been here the whole time. Yes. He shook his head in disbelief. And no one ever found it. Not meant to be found. Clearly, they moved deeper. The structure responded to Eric's presence. Walls shifting, pathways opening, systems waking up after centuries of silence. Armin felt it too. That connection again. Stronger now. Like something was recognizing him. This is weird, he muttered. It is choosing. Yeah, I'm not sure I signed up for that. At the end of the corridor, they reached a vast chamber. At its center, a structure unlike anything Armin had ever seen. Floating. Alive. Energy swirling around it in slow, controlled patterns. This is it? He asked quietly. Yes. He stepped forward. What does it do? Eric's paused. Then answered. It amplifies. Armin frowned. Amplifies what? You. He blinked. That's not vague at all. Above them, the ground shook. The hunters had found the entrance. They're coming, Armin said. Yes. He looked back at the glowing structure. Then at Eric's. All right. Tell me what to do. Eric's guided him. Step by step. Armin approached the structure, his heart pounding. Don't mess this up, he whispered to himself. He placed his hand on the surface. The world exploded into light. Armin's mind expanded far. Beyond the chamber. Beyond the city. Beyond the sky. He saw everything. The ships. The hunters. The fear spreading across the planet. And something else. A pattern. A weakness. A possibility. Back in the chamber, his body lifted slightly off the ground. Energy swirling around him. Eric's watched. Not worried. Certain. Above the ships reacted. Something had changed. Armin opened his eyes. They glowed faintly now. Different. Stronger. He took a slow breath. Okay, he said quietly. I think I understand. Now, he looked up through layers of earth and sky he could somehow feel. They didn't just come to hunt. Eric's waited. Armin's expression hardened. They came to make sure no one ever fights back again. A pause. Then yes. Armin stepped back from the structure. The energy around him settled but didn't disappear. So we proved them wrong. The chamber shook violently. The entrance was breaking. Hunters were coming in. Armin picked up his skateboard. A small, familiar gesture in the middle of something enormous. Ready? He asked. Eric's didn't hesitate. Always. Armin smirked. Good. The ground above them split open. Light poured in. Hunters dropped down and stopped, because something about the boy in front of them had changed. Armin pushed off, and this time he wasn't running. Everything followed. But this time, he wasn't just reacting, he was aware. Every movement of the hunters, every shift in the air, every vibration beneath the ground, it all felt connected. Like threads in a web he could finally see. A hunter lunged toward him, too fast for any normal human. But Armin moved before it even reached him. He pushed off his skateboard, twisting mid-motion, narrowly slipping past the strike. The creature hit the ground where he had been, its attack missing by inches. Yeah, Armin muttered, landing smoothly, not fast enough anymore. Energy pulsed through him, not wild, not uncontrollable, focused, guided. Another hunter attacked from behind. Without turning, Armin raised his hand. The air shifted. A sudden force slammed into the hunter, throwing it backward into the chamber wall with a violent crash. He froze for a split second. Okay, he whispered. That's new. Eric's presence was steady beside him. You see now? Armin nodded slowly. Yeah, I see. More hunters dropped in. 5, 10. Too many for before. Not anymore. Above the surface, the sky darkened further as the massive ships began to move into position. They had found their target, and now they were preparing to erase it. Inside the chamber, the battle began, not chaotic, not desperate, precise. Armin moved like everything had slowed down, but in reality, he had simply caught up. He rode forward, weaving between attacks, his skateboard gliding effortlessly as if the ground itself was guiding him. A hunter fired. Armin tilted slightly, the blast curved, missing him completely. What? He smirked. Now that's just unfair. He reached out, and this time, he didn't push the hunter away. He focused on the core, on the instability he had seen before. The hunter froze mid-motion, then collapsed instantly, its structure breaking apart like it had simply given up. Armin exhaled. Okay, that's definitely better. But even as the hunters inside the chamber fell, the real threat remained above. The ships. Massive, untouchable. Or at least, they had been. Armin looked upward, his expression shifting. Serious now. It's not enough, he said quietly. Eric's responded. No, it is not. They'll just keep coming. Yes, Armin tightened his grip on the board. Then we don't stop at defense. He looked at Eric's. We go higher. Moments later, they were back on the surface. And the world had changed. The city was in chaos. Lights flickered. Fires burned in the distance. The sky was no longer hidden, it was dominated by the enormous alien ships. Hovering like silent judges, Armin stepped forward slowly. For a brief second, he hesitated, not out of fear, out of realization. This wasn't just about him anymore. This was everyone. Every person running in the streets, every life under that sky. He took a deep breath. "All right," he said softly. "Let's finish this." Energy surged around him again, but stronger now. Controlled. Directed. The ground beneath his feet cracked slightly as the force built. Eric's watched closely. This was the moment. Armin stepped onto his skateboard one last time. A small, almost human habit in the middle of something impossible. "Don't fall now," he muttered. Then he pushed, and the world let him go. He didn't just move forward. He lifted. The air itself carried him upward. Energy forming beneath his path, turning his motion into something more than physical. He rose, higher, faster, straight toward the sky. Below him, the city grew smaller. Above him, the ships loomed larger. One of them shifted. Noticed him. Target locked. "Yeah," Armin said under his breath. "I know." A beam of energy fired toward him, but this time, he didn't dodge. He reached out and stopped it. The beam froze in midair, suspended like light trapped in glass. Armin's eyes glowed brighter. Then he redirected it. Back. The blast struck the ship. For the first time, it reacted. Its surface rippled, destabilizing. Armin pushed higher. More ships turned toward him now. Weapons charging. All at once. "Come on then," he said quietly. The sky lit up. Multiple beams fired simultaneously, converging on a single point. On him. Armin closed his eyes, not in fear, in focus. He felt the network below, the structure, the energy, the connection. And then, he let it all flow through him. Light exploded outward. Not destructive, overwhelming. A wave of pure force spread across the sky, colliding with the incoming attacks and dissolving them instantly. The ships shook, not from damage, from disruption. Their systems faltered. Connections broke. Coordination failed. Armin opened his eyes. "This is your weakness," he said. Not to them, to himself. Understanding it fully now, you don't lose to power. He raised his hand. You lose to something you can't control. The final pulse came silently. A ripple across the sky, across every ship, across every hunter. And then they shut down. One by one, the massive ships lost their hold. Not exploding, not crashing violently, simply failing, retreating, fading back into the fractures they had come from. The sky slowly began to heal. The cracks closed. The light dimmed. And then silence. Armin fell. Not fast, not uncontrolled. The energy carried him gently back down. Back to the ground. Back to where he started. When his feet touched the earth, the connection faded. The power settled, gone. He stood there for a moment, breathing, processing, alive. Eric's appeared beside him, stronger now than ever before. But calm. "It is over." Armin let out a quiet laugh. "Yeah." He looked up at the now clear sky. "We actually did it." Time passed slowly after that. The world didn't fully understand what had happened. People spoke of lights, of strange energy, of something in the sky that vanished as suddenly as it appeared. But no one knew the truth, not really. A few days later, Armin stood at the same abandoned construction site where it had all begun. His skateboard rested at his feet. Eric stood across from him, different now, complete. "You're leaving," Armin said. Not a question, a fact. Yes, a pause. "Then my people, they will need me." Armin nodded slowly. "Yeah, makes sense." Silence stretched between them, not awkward. "Just heavy, you know," Armin said after a moment. "I was just trying to find a place to skate that night." A faint, warm feeling came from Eric's. "And you found a war." Armin smirked slightly. "Yeah, typical." Eric stepped closer. The connection between them flickered one last time, stronger than ever. "You changed everything." Armin shook his head. "We did." A pause, then, "Goodbye, Armin." Light formed around Eric's body. Brighter, brighter, and then gone. The world returned to normal, or at least something close to it. Years later, people still talked about that night. The sky breaking, the lights, the impossible, but no one ever found proof. No ships, no technology, nothing except one thing. A boy, now older, standing on a quiet street at sunset, a skateboard under his arm, looking up at the sky. Armin smiled slightly, because somewhere out there, he knew they were still out there, still alive, still free, and it had all started with a simple choice: to stop, to help, to not walk away.